I read this thing yesterday. It said, I don't like labels. People make too many spelling mistakes. Now, my immediate response was the very same, and I started laughing. And then I thought, wow, isn't that the truth, though? Because when we assign labels, we're making a mistake. People are not things. We're human beings. And using labels to describe people disregards the essence of who they truly are, does it not? A person's race, sexuality, socioeconomic status, geographic origins, those things do not define all that we are or all that we will be, all that we will become. As a society, it's important for us to consider the fact that labels often distort our perception. And truth be told, in essence, labels tend to promote blatant and sometimes subconscious prejudice. We've all probably at some point in our life have experienced that on one side or the other, maybe both. Because of what we look like, because of what we do, because of who we are, whatever. Human beings are incredibly dynamic, too dynamic to be put in boxes. Labels will never capture the complexity of the human spirit. It simply isn't possible. Labels, for thousands of years, have been used as a means of discrimination. And they only serve to promote that discrimination. That whatever society has decided that they're going to place out there for everybody. Labels create division. They push people apart. They create that idea, that mentality of us versus them. So, think about this. Here's an example. Is there really ever a human that's illegal? Right? Human beings are not illegal. And yet we place that sometimes on people, don't we? And who cares what a person's body size is? Too big, too small, it's black, it's white, it's green, who cares? Why is there such a need to place a label on that? And is it really important who people love, or is it more important that people simply love? Many times we define people by their sexuality. There's really no need. It's not necessary. Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, celebration of who he was and what he stood for. And that amazing I Have a Dream speech that he gave demanded racial justice and an integrated society, and that became the mantra in the black community. His words, however, provided a standard for understanding the social and the political upheaval of the time. It gave the nation a vocabulary to express what was happening. Now, the key message in his speech was that all people were created equal. And although that wasn't the case in the United States at the time, King felt that it must be created that way in the future. He had an absolute dream. He argued passionately. He argued that powerfully. It was his call to action for change. And it was a very loud one, if you remember. Those of us who are over, a little older than Gina will remember that.
I don't
The second half of his speech, of King's speech, described the dream of a better, fairer future for racial harmony and for integration. And I want to share just a little tidbit of that speech with you. I say to you today that in spite of the differences and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Now, that message in particular had a really strong message and geared toward white people. His words, however, are mainly about peace, offering a vision that everyone could understand and everyone could absolutely buy into. His call to action then applies today. Not just for racial issues, it applies to any issue that causes a divide in humanity. It is so relatable in today's social climate. Yes, there are still racial tensions. It's not just black and white anymore, though. Hispanic, Asian, and enter whatever race you want here. And we get to add to that now, in 2017, anyone who doesn't fit into that so-called social norm. LGBT, different religions, different cultures. Basically, anyone that we don't understand or we cannot relate to because we don't live their life, we don't experience their life. We have a lot to do as a human race. We have a lot to love, a lot to share. We want to remember that on the inside, we're all the same. We all feel. We feel heartache, no matter who we are. We feel disappointment. We also feel love. We also feel joy and need that sense of community. All human beings have the same emotions. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir, as they say, because you understand that. It's just, I think I really believe the more that we bring it up and the more that it's out there, that we can touch other people, we can share our vision, we can share that dream of experiencing one single humanity, of that love, that peace, that kindness, that compassion. Not everyone in the whole wide world has experienced a form of prejudice or discrimination. And that's why I've asked Nathan to speak for a few minutes this morning, because sadly he has. And I'd like to invite Nathan up, and he's going to share a little bit with you now.
Good morning. So I'm a child of the 80s. I reached my double digits in my teen years within that era. Recently, I was watching a documentary on TV regarding the 80s. And as I watched it, I was surprised by how much I remembered. I also realized how much of an influence what I was watching now had on who I grew to be, who I was, and the society that provided me the foundation of my beliefs, fears, and the creation of my walls, barriers, and the masks that I hid behind. Today, I'd like to share with you why coming out was so important to me, why it was so challenging, and what coming out actually means. Using the term coming out uses language which makes the process sound much grander and easier than it definitely is. definitely more festive than most experience. I was not a debutante coming out and being presented to society. The process should be referred to as what it is: a battle to find acceptance of oneself, being honest with who you are, what they feel, and what they need. It is overcoming the fear of rejection for something they have always been told is wrong, evil, and disgusting. Growing up, I was lucky. The topic of homosexuality did not really come up, not in the same way it did in many households. Being raised by a metaphysical minister, my mother's topics always centered around love, peace, hope, compassion, and there was never any talk of sin. It would not be until later, when I did come out, that I would feel the sting of family rejection. But it was not my family that caused me to fear society. I was educated on the evils of homosexuality by the likes of Dan Rather, Ted Koppel, and Peter Jennings, the anchors of the evening news. I knew I was different, and there was no question that I was different. But until I heard on the nightly news a name for my condition, I believed I was alone. My introductions to understanding what I was came via the media explosion of what was initially called the gay cancer, later identified as AIDS, and then the discovery of the HIV virus. And this is how the 80s will forever be defined for me. I was a little boy, trying my best to grow up in a world that didn't seem to fit my feelings or beliefs of who I was. Thanks to the anchors of the evening news and shows like 60 Minutes, I learned that I was evil and immoral. Because of my immorality, I deserved to die. I deserved to live in the shadows. I was told that I was not worthy enough to serve my country. As a military child, I had dreamed of being a naval pilot. Ed Bradley ended that dream after a story he did on gay soldiers being dishonorably discharged. President Reagan said at the time that one only had to look at the lack of morality of those being infected. And I remember North Carolina Senator Jesse Helms saying the way to cure AIDS was to kill the gays. I had not actually acted on who I was yet I believed I was everything they said I was. The taunting and the schoolyard bullying existed, but it was nothing compared to what I heard by way of our politicians and talking heads. When I made the choice to come out, which is the only part of being gay that is a choice, I knew I would be facing a hostile world, one where I might never be accepted. Coming out was an act of faith, not belief in a higher power, because I had little. It was certainty in myself that I would survive, knowing that I could only live if I was honest and open with myself, and in the process, honest and open with those around me. I have only truly come out to two people in my life, my mother and myself. The rest of the process was just people getting to know me and coming to the realization on their own. I have known discrimination in my life. I have been passed over for jobs and positions that I was completely qualified for over someone less qualified and straight. I have suffered the embarrassment of walking into the men's restroom at work, only to have everyone flee the moment I walked in, as if what I was could be contagious or that I was somehow a predator. I have walked down the street with a group of friends and been the recipient of drive-by homophobic rants simply because we were near a gay club. I have been refused service in restaurants, blatantly ignored until I decided to leave. Now, to bring this back to the series I was watching on the 80s, the reason that this was eye-opening for me was because I realized I had been molded by what I was told about myself. Not from the people who knew me, not by my family, rather by complete strangers I would never know and who would never know me. These ideas and beliefs were planted, and the harvest that was reaped was fear, doubt, and mistrust of everyone, including myself. I learned what it meant to be a gay man and how to live a gay life from the nightly news. 30 years later, due to the explosion of social media and the internet, not much has changed. Today, somewhere in Mississippi, in Ohio, somewhere in North Carolina, and even here in California, young boys and girls are learning how dangerous they are, how immoral and sinful their lives are because they are different, because they are gay. The constant stream of information from TV, radio, and social media provides both hope and despair, confirmation and confusion. It is an emotional, physical, and spiritual tug of war. A constant fear of being outed, fear of rejection by friends and family. Regardless of how accepting the people in our lives say they are, it is not till they are tested that one truly knows. I have seen it and I have experienced it. Coming out requires courage, for we are aware there is a chance that we will lose family, friends, and even jobs, regardless of laws that may or may not exist to protect us. So why is coming out necessary? The first time we say the words out loud, we let the genie out of the bottle and are able to start living the authentic life that we have always wanted to live. Coming out does not remove the fear. It does not magically solve all our problems. It does, however, begin the process of truly knowing and accepting ourselves. As our social circles grow, more people understand that love is love, regardless of gender, race, political association, or spiritual belief. As long as we hide and blend, the less of an authentic life we are able to express. Gay pride parades are not about being proud of being gay. It is about not being ashamed of who we are and proud to express our authentic selves. There is a difference. We are being reminded that we are not alone as we celebrate the oneness shared and the diversity enjoyed. Metropolitan areas of California are relatively accepting and socially liberal, so much so that we often believe that there are no real issues faced by the LGBT community. Step outside these metropolitan areas and outside the California border, and you will find a very different world. It can get better. It takes friends and allies to stand together, to recognize the diversity in everyone, allies who stand for injustice wherever they see it. There is a quote that my organization uses a lot that I feel is very appropriate. It is by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he says, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So may the spirit of acceptance and gratitude guide your hands, your thoughts, and your words, and may love dictate your deeds. Thank you.
I don't know about any of you, however, I've not had to experience that level of discrimination. And it takes one tough cookie, doesn't it? To move through that and to be okay and to walk proudly on the other side of it. So thank you for sharing that with us, Nathan. You know, something, I spent some time yesterday with Nathan and Gary, and Nathan had shared with me that he has this counter on his Facebook. I think this is an important story to share. And that as of yesterday, January 17th, 2017, there had been 38 transgender individuals murdered in this country. And this year, in 17 days. And Nathan, and after that, Nathan said to me, and we're worried about which bathroom we're going to use, right? we are called to stand up for what we believe in, to participate in whatever it is we can to help people, to help humanity, because I am you and you are me. And I think it's so important that we remember that instead of placing judgment, instead of discriminating. We want to look, where is our heart on all these issues, on some of these issues, on one of these issues? Are we open? Are we inclusive like we talk here? Do we love all human beings? Are we compassionate to only those of a specific type? People who understand us, people who think like us, people who look like us. Where are we on that? As I speak on Sundays about embracing humanity and expressing divinity, I'm speaking about all of humanity, right? Not a specific part, not just in this room, not just in our families or in our small community of people we love. I'm talking about all of humanity. People are too complex and fabulous to have labels. Love with all your heart. Live on the edge. Love everyone you meet. Oh, what the heck. Right? Love everyone just because you can. Open your heart. Send a message by your actions that division is unacceptable. That we are one single humanity and that love is always the answer. Have a dream and know that that dream can become a reality. So I'm going to close this morning with a short quote by Bryant McGill. The greatest success is to have a lightness in your heart and to be completely at ease and comfortable by being exactly what you were created to be. Your own unique and beautiful expression of the divine. Thank you so much for being here while I shared this truth as I understand it.